Good day and welcome back to the Family Cyber Clinic. This week we are sharing, in fact, we're giving advice to parents that they should stop giving their kids smartphones at a young age. It's no longer acceptable. I had an opportunity to engage online and get some information that I couldn't wait to share this week with the community. We are allowing social media to ruin our kids. If you like, to even rule our kids. Social media is dictating most of what they do. And I know that parents are not far off, but fortunately for us, kids are not responsible for parents. Parents are. And so we, the clinic, ultimately, we focus on the kids' welfare. And so we're pulling or calling the parents out and saying, intervene, intervene. We should stop giving kids who have no business using a smartphone at a young age. Stop giving it to them. If they need to get onto social media in that sense or watch stuff from social media, I meant to say, then supervise them. You do it. Okay, we've made observations, which I'm going to, tell you, and hopefully not alarm you, but at least I want you to get to understand how serious this thing is. Okay, unlike us parents, we had an upbringing that's, by parents I mean old folk. If you're older than 30. You were brought up in a different way. Maybe 30 is too little. But you get my drift. As a parent, we had different upbringing. Our kids are not investing the quality time you and I had to put in that's truly required to build real relationships. If they're over-dependent on social media, spending a long time on social media with friends does not equal quality time. Yes, this is now turning out to be a moan. But ultimately, our kids are spending too much time on social media. And if they're going to continue doing that, research is proving every day that it's going to ruin their lives. I had a little giggle, and it wasn't really funny, but it was so alarming and funny at the same time, that if we take our eyes off the ball, if we take our eyes off our kids and don't supervise what they're doing on social media, it is no different. No different, and I've probably shared this in another video. You open the door, tell your kids, bye, go and have fun. And they're underage. You close the door and expect that they will find their way when they're not streetwise. You haven't engaged them on the internet. You've not engaged them on how they should deal or handle strangers. All the things that are required to stay safe out there, we seem to be ignoring when it comes to social media. Okay? So the observations I'm making, I'm relaying them to you because I want you to learn from them. Okay? There's a a hormone that the body releases. It's called dopamine. And it releases it when people engage in alcohol drinking, smoking, and all that. Let me go to Google and show you what Google says about this hormone. Just give me a second. Okay, you can see my screen. I'm just going to Google, and you can see in there, I've just written there dopamine. All right. So dopamine, this is what dopamine does to a person. It says dopamine is responsible for allowing, I hope you can see it, allowing you to feel pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation. When you feel good that you have achieved something, is because you have a surge of dopamine in the brain. So this hormone is released into the body when you drink alcohol, when you smoke a cigarette or whatever it is they do these days. This is what happens to your body. Dopamine is released. Now, there's research that has concluded that dopamine is released into the body when young kids and possibly adults. I didn't really narrow it down, but my passion is for the kids. But kids, their bodies release dopamine at certain age brackets when they are on social media. Now, I kept it on this page because it does tell you what happens, if you can see it there, what happens when dopamine is high. So indirectly, in the context of our video, what happens if a kid spends too much time on social media? Remember, social media releases, when you're on social media, when a kid is on social media, that is, dopamine is released. Now, what happens when dopamine levels are too high? We have Google give us that. It says effects of overly high dopamine levels include high libido, anxiety, difficulty sleeping, increased energy, mania, stress, and improved ability to focus and learn, among others. It is a serious issue. It is a serious issue. I'm not in any way pretending to be a scientist, but dopamine is released into the body when our kids are on social media. High levels, I've just shown you, are detrimental to the system. And if we stayed on that page, low levels also, when kids are, let's say, via social media, they're being bullied, and they now leave social media for whatever or however long, low levels, because they're still thinking about it and they're not really engaging, you could have an issue with low levels. And those also carry risks. Okay? So we have an issue. We have an issue. Apart from the issue I first flagged, that our kids are not investing the quality time required to build real relationships, dopamine is detrimental to the system. In fact, dopamine in many ways is one of the main reasons why people get addicted to the likes of alcohol, smoking, and then you also have social media addiction. Whenever you think or talk about addiction, dopamine is in the conversation. So I'm releasing these facts or observations that I've made over time so that you can understand why I'm insisting that you need to intervene as a parent. Okay? Now, some other observations I've made, and I'll go through these quite quickly so that you sort of get an idea. You may have seen these and you've ignored them, but I thought, let me show you, or at least tell you, and then you can make observations or come to conclusions for yourself. The most important item our kids must have with them when they go out, and I'm not just talking about when they're going out and they want to use their, well, you can see that I'm talking about the phone. Basically, the most important item our kids must have on them when they go out is that smart device, is the phone. It's the phone. And it's not just because they want to use it to map their way through traffic and all that. There is what you already know as FOMO, because we've spoken about it, the fear of missing out. They need to have their phones. And some of them, when they say they need to have their phones, it's almost like you need to understand that I would die if I don't have the phone. That's not funny. If you can't do without something, it's an addiction. And addictions, if the tables were flipped and it was an addiction to alcohol or all the other things that we mentioned, you would do something about it. In fact, there are age restrictions on alcohol. There are age restrictions on smoking. There are age restrictions on gambling. Things that a dopamine release can cause you to get addicted to. There are restrictions, and those restrictions, amongst other things, are put in place to deter, to help in the management of those addiction scenarios. Now we know that kids can get addicted to social media. Again, the same dopamine is released. So why are there no age restrictions on social media? Notice I said restrictions, not entry age limits or numbers. You may not know this, but I'm sharing with you, a kid has no business on social media, most platforms, if they're younger than 13. I hope this will resonate with you. A 10-year-old has no business on social media. No matter how nice a parent or good a parent you think you're being. Has no business based on some of the things I've already shared. Age appropriateness, we've discussed it, flogged it on this channel, is so important. So if a kid feels naked without their phone, there's a problem. There is a problem. Okay, these are observations. When kids are making an effort to partake in family time, they often have their phone with them. And the moment they show their phone or you see the phone, you should be certain that they are not really with you during that family time. They don't enjoy it anymore. So for them, family time comes on their terms. So we do family time, but I still have to have my ear out for stuff. And these are people who are not working. It's not like your boss is going to call you to come to work or you are on call. No, you just have to have your phone. And I'm speaking almost in first person as if I'm speaking to a child or a kid underage or whatever. You don't enjoy family time anymore. These are observations that I'm making. And I'm not far from what observations you are making yourself. I'm sure you observe mood swings. Every now and then, a child who was bubbly 1 minute is so down, stressed. That whole addiction dopamine thing is playing out. And often they come to you to fix those problems. So social media does not have restrictions. There are no remedies. There are no there's nothing really, nothing that I can tell you really that's in place to address the stress that's related to dopamine release that I showed you. If you need to reverse or go back to the start of this video. Dopamine causes stress. High levels cause stress. So when they're now stressed, they come to you because social media doesn't have a stress university. How do I fix my stress when someone has blanked me on social media? So you will observe mood swings. Yes, I said this sounds like I'm moaning, but I'm so passionate about our kids. I want our kids to be safe. So please don't batter me. Actually batter me in the comments because it will mean that we're going to engage. Their friends on social media can't fix them. You, the parent, who is not really playing the role properly, you're the one who ends up fixing the mood swings. And there was a time, I'm moving on quite quickly. There was a time parental approval was a thing. In fact, truth be told, there was a way I used to engage my my boys when they were younger. I didn't have to use the cane. Not that I'm supporting the use of cane, but our kids need discipline every now and then. But I didn't have to do any of the things that are rumored to happen. I think that's the best way to do that. You know, I didn't have to. All I had to do was give them a little stare and they knew what time it was. And I'm not saying that to boast, but there was a time where parental disapproval was a thing. Now our kids are getting approval from their peers online. Now, do I want to stay stuck in the past because things are, the way they are now, that I want to live in the past, that we should go back to old school? That's not necessarily where I'm going. I'm saying that there were virtues that we enjoyed when we were growing up. Even the millennials enjoyed when they were growing up. That our kids are being denied because we are absent from duty as parents, guardians, and even babysitters. We need to pay attention. If our kids are leaning towards social media friends for approval, there is a recipe for disaster. But I can tell you that when it goes wrong, you are the one they will come to us to fix it. So we're making these observations and we're sharing these observations with you because it's important that we wean our kids off social media. Some are even here that I can't take my phone from my 8-year-old. You can't take the phone. It's yours, one, and taking it will do your child good. We need to get emboldened and do those things that we know would correct a dysfunction. So a kid who is underage overusing a smart device has no business querying why they can't have it when you take it from them. You are the parent. They are the child. Now, I've said all that, and it's important to understand that I always push for balance. Part of the problem is that we're intervening a bit late. So there's some measures that will appear primitive, outmodish, and all that you find yourself having to do this time. But if you start early, for those of you who have younger ones, start early. I'm preparing you so that those things that I've mentioned don't happen to you. And it's still not hopeless for those whose kids have used this. And if you take it from them, they'll probably be sick. There's a way to manage it. Reach out, engage. Let's talk. There's a way to wean them off and create or introduce some balance. Okay? Now, those were the observations, and I can tell you that I didn't hit, I wasn't close to some of the other observations, but we can only do so much in a video, okay? But we have some advice, and I think we've kind of touched on some of it already. Age appropriateness is important to you, should be, and it's also important to the channel and community. We are so big on certifications. In fact, I went through some videos on the portal, and I realized that I had released a video in 2019. It was so funny actually watching it. But I watched a video that I released in 2019 about social media addiction. And I was super surprised that in 2019, I gave this a similar warning. And I'll put the video, please look at the info card. I'll put it so that you can, go down memory lane with me. But ultimately, the warning has not changed. It's gotten more polished. Those days we were just starting, but it's now more polished. And I know that we must do something. We talked about certifications. We talked about age appropriateness. It's important. A child, under 10s have no business on social media. And if they must get onto social media, then if you also look on the portal, you see that there are some social media entry-level platforms. Teach them. So before you get onto YouTube, for example, there's YouTube Kids. And on YouTube Kids, the material there is appropriate for the age. Why would we ignore that? Why? Anyway, as I said, there's so little time to say so much in one video. But we say age appropriateness is important. Parents is the second point. You must get involved. Get involved early. Get involved early. So from age dot, get involved. Have a system. Have a process. One that's agreeable. One that is one that you and your wife are on the same page with. Not mom's doing this, dad's doing this. No, same page. Guide your child. Have rules. Set them early. The kid will know and understand that there are rules and live and abide by those rules. And as they are progressing and doing well, you reward them. So you're on the journey with them. Get involved. Our third point. And it's a point, advice, and it's also a warning. When we allow our young kids unfettered access to social media, that's unrestrained access to social media, it is no different to placing a bottle of vodka in the cupboard and telling your kid, underage kid, that anytime they feel anyhow, they should just, break a leg, go to town and just, consume the alcohol. I know I'm trying to trying to make it light, but seriously, it is serious. It is serious. When we take our eye off the ball by giving them unfettered or unrestrained access to social media, we are absent as parents. We are not parenting. And we have a God-given responsibility to these kids. And so we must guide them. You may not know it, but pretending or behaving as if you want them to knock themselves out drinking vodka, because that's what we do. We're just throwing them to the wolves, really. Because the internet is dangerous. The internet can be addictive. Social media can be addictive. And we must do something about it. So we're urging parents to intervene and put a stop to giving underage kids internet-enabled devices that allow them subscribe or, register on social media. And if you want advice on, okay, what do I do with a kid who is constantly telling me that I need to get onto social media? One, engage them, discuss with them. And then two, if you must, engage us. Or go through the portal and look for videos that we talk about age-appropriate applications. Mobile applications that will be appropriate and conducive for your kids. Lots of things that I said, like I said, we didn't cover. But I think for one video, especially a vertical video, I think this is enough, okay? If you have concerns, or if this resonates with you and hits home, really, you can contact us publicly by engaging in the comments or anonymously by going to the website www.familycyberclinic.com and use the WhatsApp chat engine there to get my attention. Okay? You can also send an email. The information will be in the description. And let me know how you're getting on. Give me suggestions. In fact, if you want to take me on one-on-one, let's say you don't agree with what I'm saying, and perhaps you want to sit down with me and in public too, we'll record the video and we can discuss it, because ultimately I want to get to a place where we are putting out first the right information, But more importantly, secondly, that we are taking care of our young ones. And so if we have to engage to make sure that many other people get to do the right thing, I'm game. Absolutely game. All you have to do is send me or DM me and let me know, and we'll arrange it. Okay? We're not fighting. Don't forget, our kids are important. So it's them that we are doing this for. So when you come armed with information that will bless them, not get them even worse off. Okay? It's been it's been tiring. And that's because I've been hyper all through the video, but it's been rewarding for me that I've been able to get this out and get it out quickly before Christmas whilst we spend a lot of time together. For those who may feel that they have taken their eye off the ball and feel then they're no good as parents, that's not this video's motive. If you identify, it means that you care, you love your child, and we can make this change in your favor very quickly. All you have to do is engage. I've been your host, Lawrence Edem. Until next week, God bless and goodbye.